Hi, welcome to A Moment in Time with Taylor. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out our website, nextjuice.com. That's the only way we can keep this channel going and growing is if you click that support button. And if you subscribe for monthly sponsorships there, you get entered to win $100 every single month. So please help us, and I hope that you win $100. Congratulations to Donna, who won the $100 about 4 days ago. We do it on the 17th of every month. And today we're here with a brand new book review being streamed live called Leading Successful Change: 8 Keys to Making Change Work by Gregory P. Shea and Cassie A. Solomon. Thank you to Dan on Fleek for gifting me this book. That was very kind. I read it pretty quickly and I find it very interesting. Now, I will say that this book is really written probably more for like larger organizations than what I'm running here right now. I have 10 other content creators that broadcast live on my channel, but other than that, I do all of the positions in my organization. But this is going to help me as I scale the business, and this is going to be really helpful for you if you run a business with more working parts, more moving parts, and it's still a beneficial way to think about change even in your personal life, although this is primarily for businesses. So he talks about how you have to be very clear about what the change, let's say what your ideal world will look like, what the outcome will be and look like if you implement that change perfectly. What is the end result? How is it going to look? Who's going to be involved? Paint yourself a very clear mental picture so that you know exactly what it is that you're moving towards. And that's pretty common for any kind of goals that you're setting. You always want to have a clear focus and vision, and as clear and detailed and crystalline as possible so that you know every tiny step that you take in the right direction. And every time you see something that matches up with your vision, you can reward it and you can focus on it and you can kind of model around that. The second thing that he talks about is that you have to focus on behaviors in order to create real change. So there's two things that once you have your clear vision, you have to focus on behaviors, and then you have to change the environment to, what's the word I'm looking for here? You have to change the environment to produce those behaviors and to reward those behaviors and to make those behaviors possible. So it's not just a matter of saying, okay, here's the change that we're making, and then just expecting everyone to fall in line and blaming people for not, making the change happen, but actually changing the work environment so that it makes the change easier and realizing what behaviors are necessary for the change to be the change that you want to see. That almost sounded like a Gandhi quote. So then he gets into the real meat of the book, which is chapter 3, the 8 levers or levers of change, designing the work environment. So the 8 levers are organization, workplace design, task, people, rewards, measurement, information distribution, and decision allocation. So I'll explain what those are based off of what he says in the book. One is your organization. It's your organization chart in your business. It's like it'll look like almost like a flow chart, but it's kind of like you have, your owner at the top or your shareholders, and then you have little pieces down into your executives perhaps, and then even divided down all the way to the people that are on the front lines of your business and are usually the most numerous. Hey Matthew, you are first comment to the broadcast. How are you? Good to see you here. And the way he puts it is it's the structure. It's your vertical chain of command and your horizontal means of interconnection. Also task forces, project groups, and committees. So all of the positions of your organization and how that looks laid out in basically like a chart. The second is the workplace. Actually, why don't I go one by one? So as we talk about the organization, questions to consider when thinking about lever 1, organization. How might you change the organizational chart, including adding or subtracting positions or changing where positions report in the organization? How tight of a coupling do you want between which groups or roles? Who is bound together or split apart by the formal organization as it now exists? What extent of horizontal integration needs structural support and where? Where might a matrix structure fit? What role might temporary or project teams play? And what meetings or meeting systems should change? Which meetings should stop occurring? Hey, Chicken on Biscuits, thanks for being here. The second lever of change is workplace design. So this is your actual layout of your physical space or your virtual space in our case, and also what available work tools and technology do you have? So questions to ask when considering, and obviously you should read the book to get the rest of the information, but questions to consider when thinking about lever two. Where might you locate people to facilitate the desired behavioral change? Do you want to recommend changes that involve people's location? Who works in close proximity to whom? How might changes to the physical space promote ease of access, collaboration, or general interaction? How might changes to the virtual or telephonic space ease access, collaboration, or general interaction? What role does social media, video conferencing, or cell phone apps play? What tools would people need to enact the change? How might changes in technology affect how people perform their jobs? Third is task. The third lever of change is task. These are the work processes, protocols, and pathways. So this is something I need to do in my business personally. I have to document step by step all of the processes that each role of my business takes, so that way I can actually begin to fill those positions and hire other people to fill those positions as we do better here with the sponsorships over on the website nextjuice.com by clicking the support button. Chicken on Biscuit says, please slap my condo association with this book. Thank you very much. Well, you could gift it to them. It's a really tiny book. It's marked for $15.99. Leading Successful Change by Gregory, Shea, and Cassie Solomon. 8 Keys to Making Change Work. So when questions to consider when thinking about lever 3, the task lever. What kind of work process changes does the desired end state require? How would the flow of the work need to change? Would it help to make more tasks, especially key processes, more explicit, more detailed, basically? Would more standardization of any processes help? Would less? Might the use of a particular technique, such as Six Sigma, aid in clarifying current and desired work processes? Six Sigma, if you're not familiar, is the process of eliminating mistakes as much as possible. So when you've achieved ultimate Six Sigma perfection, I don't remember the exact number, but you have like one mistake for every 1 million activities or something like that. I'd have to look up the actual, that might be a mistake on my part in not being Six Sigma. But you can look that up, and they say that depending on how many mistakes you have per 100,000 or 500,000 instances or 1 million instances, shows you what level of Six Sigma that you're at, and you always want to be moving towards more perfection, the least amount of mistakes possible. Lever 4 of change is people. Selection, skills, learning, and orientation of the focal, organizational, business unit, department, or work unit members. People. What would the desired end state require of whom? Think particularly about which skills which people or sets of people would have to master. Which people or sets of people should manifest which values or orientation toward work, colleagues, customers, or other stakeholders? What changes in approaches to personnel practices such as hiring, reassigning, releasing, and training of personnel would facilitate enacting the desired change? What skill sets would these changes require, and of whom? Being that perfect sounds horribly stressful. I think it would be actually very little stress, because I think stress usually comes from mistakes either that we or others make. The fifth lever of change is rewards. Rewards and punishments of every sort germane to the desired behavior or scene, compensation, intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. And we talked about intrinsic versus extrinsic motivations when we read one of our other books. I think it was called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. Sorry for my French. Questions to consider when thinking about lever 5, rewards. What needs rewarding? What processes and what outcomes? What behaviors, practices, and scenes? So scenes is when you're thinking about exactly how everything's going to go. You want to be very clear about what happens first, what triggers, the change to happen, and then what's the next step and what's the next step, and exactly how does that process really look in creating a scene, creating a picture or a story of your client. How does your client find your business? And then how do they become a customer? And then how do they become a referring customer? And how do they become a repeat customer? How does every single one of those steps, and what's the scene? How exactly does that look, and how does it sound and smell and taste? What financial rewards would facilitate change? What non-financial rewards would facilitate change? What unintended consequences of your considered changes in rewards might arise? The sixth lever of change is measurement, which is metrics or scorecard of performance. What measures would foster and support the desired scene? What measures would help people to judge appropriately and accurately how they are doing? What metrics would help you and others manage and succeed in the new world? The new world being your desired world in the future. How might those measures differ from current measures? Should the measures focus on outcomes, process, or a combination of both? And I liked what he said about this. So, seventh lever of change is information distribution. Who knows what, when, and how? And what I liked was that he said, remember that metrics and your measurements, your key performance indicators that you keep track of at the high levels of the company, are an important piece of information for the people that you're expecting to do that. So to share that information as much as possible, to say, here was our top performer from the week, here were our top earners, here's the person or people who are really doing a great job at this. Because then the other people that aren't getting the recognition are more likely, one, they're going to know what's expected and what's going to be rewarded and recognized, but they're also going to potentially have a little bit of that competitive nature to be like, well, I can do even better than they're doing. So it can elevate everybody up. I really liked that because I don't do that as much as I should. Skip to the page here. So questions to consider with level 7, information distributions. What kinds of information would facilitate the occurrence of the desired behavior? Who needs to know what, when, in order to make the desired scenes happen? Who has access to performance metrics and when? How real time should the information be? And finally, lever 8, decision allocation. Who participates when, in what way, in which decisions? How would people relate to one another when performing key pieces of work or when making key decisions? For example, who leads and who follows at what point in the decision-making process? Who would have what type of input into which decisions and when? Would formal review of decision allocation help, perhaps using a technique such as RACI charting, responsible, accountable, consulted, informed, from the responsibility assignment matrix? And how does all this fit with your thoughts about organization, workplace design, and task? So those are the 8 levers of change, the 8 keys to making change work, and they call that work systems. So what they think, and they said they don't have really all the science and data that they would need to make this a definite true statement, but they think that in order to have successful change, that you have to change at least 4 of those levers. So you have to pull or change or focus on at least 4 of those levers to actually have successful change. And what most people do is they'll just focus on one. Oftentimes they'll focus on people. They'll get rid of a bunch of old people and bring new people in, or they'll maybe change the rewards, but they're just doing 1 or 2, and it's not enough to really have overwhelming successful change. And again, this is for larger companies, so I don't know that that holds true for smaller businesses, but that was this review and summary of this book, Leading Successful Change by Gregory P. Shea and Cassie A. Solomon, 8 Keys to Making Change Work. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and give this video a thumbs up. And most importantly of all, help us to keep this channel going and growing together by clicking over into the link nextjuice.com and clicking the support button. If you subscribe for monthly sponsorships, you'll be entered to win $100 cash every single month, just like Matthew Gold here in the live comments. And now I'm going to run over to Twitch, where we're going to do some behind the scenes work and get some other things done, prepare some new content, and just kind of hang out, do some raffles, and just have a more live, engaging experience than we did during this broadcast and our last yoga broadcast. So I hope you enjoyed this. I know that I did, and I will be reading a new book. I read a new book every single week. You can sign up for my reviews totally for free at nextjuice.com. Thanks so much for watching. This has been A Moment in Time with Taylor. I hope to see you on the next juice.